to Ukraine, believe and pray.
So it gives me a great pleasure to introduce the next speaker. He is what I call a mensch. He's been to over 70 countries. For the first time a few weeks ago, about 6 weeks ago, I dragged him to Ukraine, where he got to do his ice bucket challenge. So you can find that. So Sri is a dear, dear friend. I'm only looking at the piece of paper to read his ridiculously long title at HP. He's the Managing Director of Next Gen Computing, Incubation, and Innovation. Throughout his 19-year career at HP, he launched multiple products as an intrapreneur, the latest being the HP smartwatch with Michael Bastian, the collaboration. Some of you might have seen that. And he was also part of the corporate venture arm at HP. He holds an MBA from Boston University. He travels the world extensively, and he's a dear, dear friend. He's going to tell you where we're going. He's kind of a futurist in that sense. And now that you have a certain understanding of how what the resources are in Ukraine, the next step is to see what's coming next. Please welcome Sri.
Wow, the lights are bright. Good morning. And how many of you here went to the party last night? Wow, and you still made it on time, huh? So, Vitaly already introduced me. And what I want to do is quickly jump in and talk to you about some of the things I think is absolutely revolutionary. So, can someone tell me what the world's population is? All right, 7 billion and growing, right? So why don't we start from there, right? Around a couple of years ago, Mary Meeker, whom I absolutely adore, when she comes up with those internet trends, there are so many insights, and I thought I'll probably start from there, right? The world's population is increasing, and it's going to be 8 billion fairly soon, right? In addition to that, the life expectancy of people is also increasing. In the 1800s, in the early 1800s, it was around 26 years. And now look at what's happening in the Western economies. It's almost 80 years. People are living longer, right? In addition to that, what I want you to, focus on is people are getting more and more affluent. At least the poverty rates are falling off. So, that's another trend. We will bring this all together very quickly, so bear with me. In addition to that, what I also want to share with you is the number of people moving into cities. That's actually growing. You will see that by 2020, you'll have around 63% of the people actually living in cities together. You know what's going to happen when you have a cluster of people living very close to each other? People are going to collaborate. And you will start seeing exponential technologies taking off in a big way. So if you actually look at the last part here, in the 1800s, it was about paper and the printing press. In the 1920s, it was AM radio. In the 1950s, it was television. In the early 2000s, it was the rise of the internet. And since that family company went out of business in 2008, it's been mobile. Right after mobile, it was social, then cloud, analytics, all coming together. These are all exponential technologies because these have achieved critical mass. When I say critical mass, in some shape, way, or form, affected 60% of the population in the Western economies, and that's actually creeping into the different parts of the world. And you know what happens when this happens? Is you actually build a platform for the next era of computing. Having said that, this was a slide from Mary Meeker 2 years ago, right? This talks about where things are, right? You had 1920s, you have AM radio, 1950s television, early 2000 internet, And after 2008, it's been the rise of mobile. And all this happened in and around times of economic recession or depression. So, which is really interesting. We'll come back to that. But what has happened since 2008 is very interesting. Can someone tell me the total number of smartphone users in the world? Right? You have around 1.6 billion smartphone users. Number of people on social networks and social media, it's almost the same. For those of you who are into math and understand correlation function, you can actually see the growth of smartphones and the growth of number of people on social networking has almost like a one-to-one correlation. That's awfully interesting. In addition to that, in 2008, if you spoke about the cloud, it was an awfully romantic word. People didn't know if people could make money. But earlier in the year, the CIA gave a $600 million contract, not to IBM, but to Amazon. Right? So things are changing. And there's the adoption of cloud. In addition to that, analytics, wherein all the smartphones that we have, sending back data, the sensor data, is being analyzed. And analytics has taken off. So, quick summary. World's population increasing. In addition to that, we have all these technologies. So what's happening is the number of devices connected to the internet is also going to explode. The number of email messages we get per day. How many of you get more than 100 email messages? Right? I mean, can we really read more than 100 email messages? Impossible. Twitter feeds, text messages. It's a lot of information that's coming across to us. So, we are suffering with information overload. One addition thing is the amount of information that's coming to us is like a tsunami. But then our ability to absorb information has remained constant. So if you're going to focus on technologies that's going to help amplify your ability to absorb information, or on technologies that's going to automate things for you, that's where you have the gold mine. So with that said, what I want to do is quickly talk to you about the next era. Everybody talks about Internet of Things, but I want to tell you that this is what Peter Diamandis calls as a combined interface. You have exponential technologies actually coming together. You have mobile, you have social, you have cloud, and you have analytics, all coming together, creating this platform. And off this platform, you're going to see technologies like IoT that's going to bring in a tsunami of change. Internet of Things, not only is going to bring, the number of devices connected to the internet today is around 9 billion. That's going to be, close to 1 trillion by 2025. Everything that we know, human bodies, animals, and every object, in your home or your cars are going to be connected to the internet. So what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about where things were in 2008 or 2010. I'm talking about what happened to the cloud. In the cloud, you had content and commerce, but that was not connected to the operating system in any shape, way, or form. People who made money around the box. I'm talking about 2008. You had Intel making a lot of money on chipsets. You have Microsoft making a lot of money on operating systems. But that was not connected to the cloud. And then you had box makers, right? We have people like HP, Dell, Compaq, making money around the box. 2014, you have 3 billion devices connected. But Do you think people who made money around the box in 2008 continue to make money around the box? It's impossible. Operating system is virtually free. Chrome is free, Android is free, OS X free. And companies that made money around chipsets are not making any money around the chipsets anymore. So, ARM makes money on licensing. So you see that the profitability has gone above the box. This is in 2014. In addition to that, you see the operating system being connected closer to the cloud. And if you look at the cloud, you have the third C in the cloud, which is a component of community. So in any business that you do that's been successful, take Airbnb, you will actually see the three components working very well: content, commerce, and community. So anything that you do, you need to have a component of community built into it. Now, this is a wee bit of clairvoyance. The year is 2016. We go from 3 billion to 30 billion devices connected. And when you see there, you see that the profitability has gone from above the box to somewhere in the cloud. And you have the fourth component, the fourth C, that's there in the cloud, which is context. And I'm going to talk a little bit about context before jumping into some of the examples. And remember, anything that you build, you want to include content, commerce, community, and most importantly, aspects of context, where you munge people's attitudinal, preferential, and environmental attributes together to offer services for people. You can automate things for people. So, with that said, I just want to talk very quickly about what contextual computing is. It's very simple. You're taking multiple attributes, putting it together, and offering products and services wherein you can make life easier for a person. You also know that there has been a phenomenal rise of sensors. Today, in the Western economy, an average individual comes in touch with 32 sensors a day. 32. By 2017, can someone guess how many sensors you're going to come across in an average day? Well, it's going to be like 1,000 sensors a day. I lived and worked in London. I say this all the time, that a person is photographed 300 times in London. So you better smile if you're in London. You want to look good in those photographs, right? All right. In addition to that, this is going to be changing industries. There's going to be a significant industry transformation that's happening with the Internet of Things. A great example is what happened with Tesla, right? Last year, in the Eastern Corridor, a journalist for New York Times took the Tesla out for a drive from Connecticut to Delaware. He came back and said Tesla was not right for the winters, the New England winters. Elon Musk, right next day on his blog, basically came back and said that the battery was not charged. In addition to that, that journalist basically went around a parking lot like 26 times. And think about it, New York Times, you're talking about journalistic integrity. That's because the car was connected to the cloud. That's a great story, but then it's got certain implications to the leasing industry. Today, when you buy, let's say, a BMW 3 Series, you might pay $500 a month and $5,000 at signing. And that remains constant, let's say, for a 3-year time period. But going further, you might pay $5,000 at signing, but depending on how you drive, how badly you drive, and the average distance from the epicenter you drive, your leasing rates are going to go up and down. And that's, I think Mark Andreessen calls it liquefaction of an industry. You will see every industry going through that massive transformation where the industry dynamics are going to change. I can give several examples on where things are going. But remember, in the world of IoT, most of the value is provided by looking into the data that's in the cloud. And that's the focus at this point in time. So anything that you do, you want to make sure you analyze the data, you create and deliver value in the cloud at this point in time. And Ginny Rometty, IBM CEO, said, the biggest natural resource in this world is not diamonds, but data, right? Try telling that to your spouse, okay? With that said, I want to give other examples. Take a human body as such. There are 146 different categories of wearables that are around today. 146. Fitness is one category. I'm talking about 146 different categories. You can start from anywhere on the head all the way to the toe. Yes, every part of the human body is actually taken. How many of you here have had fitness trackers? How many of you have held those fitness trackers for more than 90 days? No, there's a 90-90 rule. 90% of them lose those wearables, within 90 days. It's very interesting. It's because, it's less to do with functionality. It's more to do with fashion is what you wear. Electronics is what you carry. The biggest killer application for what you wear is nothing to do with the function. The killer application for any wearable has to be emotions, right? Something that you love. And that is actually lacking, right? And so that's, if you looked at the announcements that came out of New York Fashion Week in the last couple of weeks, you've started to see some good-looking wearables being announced. So I think that's a great direction. In addition to that, you can add functions, but form actually comes first. In addition to that, look at what's happening in the connected home market. You're connecting everything from locks on one side, garage doors, and that's going to transform the home warranty industry as such. So in addition to that, let's look at what's happening with the connected car. 700,000 miles being driven with just one accident. The number of people who die in vehicular homicides is phenomenal. It's like, 1+ million people who die in accidents. But when you incorporate autonomous and semi-autonomous vehicles, you know that that is actually going to decrease. It's going to be, really small. So the Internet of Things is not only changing industries, but it's also changing lives. In addition to that, I hope this works. You need to focus on technologies, two kinds of technologies. This is where we started. We started with a tsunami of information coming at you. We started where you had technologies that can automate things for you with the engine of contextual computing actually helping you out. In addition to that, you also need to focus on technologies that can amplify your ability to absorb information. So in the next era of computing, where we have the 4 exponential technologies that have come together, which is mobile, social, cloud, and analytics, you've created a combined interface of a platform called Internet of Things. This platform of Internet of Things is going to change lives. It's liquefying industries or transforming industries. And it's going to bring in like $1 trillion impact on anything, each of the industries as such. So I just want to summarize. Mobile has been one of the most revolutionary technologies in the last century. It's been so revolutionary that it has changed the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. To give you an example, Maslow's hierarchy of needs states that you have dignity, you have water, food, shelter, and other things. But if you look at the number of people below the poverty line, it's, you're talking about 2.6 billion people below the poverty line. But if you look at the number of mobile subscribers, it's 5.3 billion people are mobile subscribers. So what's happened to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Now you have, dignity, water, food, mobile, and then shelter. That's revolutionary. So similarly, you have social media that's taken off, social networking that's taken off. In addition to that, you have the cloud technology and the analytics that has coming together. So what we have seen is a perfect storm wherein we are being catapulted into the next era of Internet of Things. And most importantly, where we are today is in the next 5 years, pick any industry, travel, transportation, hospitality, retail, manufacturing, you will see those industries going through a liquefaction process. And this is going to bring in $1 trillion plus impact, and most importantly, it's going to change lives. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening to me.